You know the routine. We've all done it. You walk into a pharmacy, hand over that little slip of paper, and a few minutes later, you're walking out with your prescription. It feels so simple, right? But what's really going on behind that counter is a hidden world, a super intricate supply chain for things we barely even notice. So let's pull back the curtain.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That little plastic bag, that amber vial that protects the medicine, the label with your name printed perfectly on it, these aren't just random bits of plastic and paper. They're actually critical parts of your healthcare. And for the pharmacy, getting them, stocking them, and never running out, well, that's a massive, non-stop challenge. To really get a sense of the scale here, let's just take a quick peek behind that counter. It's not just shelves full of pills. It is an entire ecosystem of supplies that have to be there for everything to work. First up, the absolute basics. What does every single prescription need? A container, right? A really busy pharmacy can burn through hundreds, maybe even thousands of these every single day. And of course, every single one of those vials needs a cap. And not just any cap. It has to be a very specific, regulated, child-resistant cap. That's a totally separate item they have to order, and it's absolutely critical for safety.
Then you've got the labels. And it's usually not just one. There's the main one printed out with all your info, and then those little colorful stickers, the auxiliary labels, that say things like, take with food or may cause drowsiness. Getting that right is everything. The bags they put it all in, well, a lot of the time, those are custom printed with the pharmacy's logo and their phone number. So that's another vendor, another supply line they have to manage. And what about liquid medicines for you or your kids? That opens up a whole other can of worms. You need oral syringes, droppers, dosing cups. All of them have to be precisely calibrated. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface. We haven't even talked about the equipment for compounding special medicines, or blister packs for nursing homes, or even just the paper for the printer. Imagine you're a pharmacist. Your main job is taking care of patients. Managing dozens of vendors for all this stuff is a huge, huge distraction. So how do you solve that? Well, this is where a very specific kind of business comes into play. And to really understand it, we're going to look at a case study of a company called Onin, which has built its entire reason for being around solving this exact problem. Now, Onin Company is not some new startup that just popped up. These guys were founded way back in 1964. They have managed to survive and grow through massive, industry-shaking changes, passing the business down from one generation to the next. And today, they are a fourth-generation family-owned business. Just think about that for a minute. 4 generations, all focused on one single mission: supplying pharmacies. That kind of history builds some serious, deep-seated expertise. So this is the key to understanding what they are. They're a pharmacy supply specialist. They don't sell the drugs, they sell everything but the drugs. All the essential gear that a pharmacy needs to run safely and efficiently. It's really a classic example of a business finding a super specific niche and just becoming the absolute best at it. And the value they offer to a pharmacy is incredibly simple, but it's also incredibly powerful. Instead of trying to juggle dozens of different suppliers, you just go to one place for, well, everything. What's so interesting here is how it all breaks down. On one side, you have all the stuff that we, the patients, see. The vials, the bags, the dosing cups. But look at the other side. You've got everything the pharmacist needs behind the scenes. Tools like mortars and pestles, special cabinets, even the supplies for mailing out prescriptions. It's the whole universe. This quote from them really just says it all, doesn't it? Their goal isn't just to sell you a bunch of products. It's to sell efficiency. By being that one reliable source, they let pharmacists get back to focusing on their patients instead of worrying about supply logistics. But this brings up a fascinating business question, right? How does a family-owned specialist from Iowa not only survive, but thrive in an industry that's dominated by these massive, multi-billion-dollar distributors, the giants of the industry? It really comes down to 2 totally different ways of doing business. The mega distributors are all about scale and volume. Their big advantage is their massive negotiating power. They can bundle all these supplies in with the drugs they're already selling. The Onin model, though, is all about that niche expertise. Their advantage is being flexible, having incredible product knowledge, and focusing on building a real partnership, not just making a sale. So what does that focus really get them? Well, it means they have this incredibly deep understanding of how a pharmacy actually works day to day. It means they can offer custom printed bags without a huge fuss.
They can respond way faster when a pharmacist has a special request because they're not some giant, slow-moving ship. And as we've all seen lately, that agility can make them super resilient when global supply chains get all messed up.
Okay, so it's a cool business story, but why does it actually matter to the rest of us? What's the bigger lesson hiding in this little corner of the world?
It matters because it's a perfect example of how, even in a world of giant corporations, there is still immense value in being a specialist. What companies like Onin are really providing isn't just plastic bottles and paper bags. They're providing peace of mind. They provide reliability. They're providing a level of focused expertise that a giant corporation, just by its very nature, is going to struggle to match.
So let's just sum it all up. First, these specialists reduce complexity, which frees up healthcare professionals to do their real jobs. Second, they ensure compliance. They know the ins and outs of every little regulation for things like safety caps. And third, they provide a human touch. In a world that can feel pretty impersonal, having a long-term partner you can actually call and talk to, a partner whose business is built on integrity, that's invaluable. And that really leaves us with a final thought to chew on. The next time you pick up a prescription, just take a second to look at the vial, the cap, the label. They seem like such small, insignificant things, but they represent an entire business model built on focus, on expertise, and on trust, proving that even in a world dominated by giants, there will always be a critical role for the specialist.